Good luck, Steve.
Online. Thank you. You too. Some attendees starting. Welcome everybody. Thank you very much for coming online. I see there's 3 of you now and it's growing. I think before I introduce Greg, then I think we'll get a good few people on online and talking to people. I see Andrew Hoskins, David Wolfson. These are people I know. Karen Bahrain, welcome. Seymour Talbot, Nurse Nfingueta. I think I've pronounced that wrong. Sue Reynard. Nice to see you, Sue, from the press. Always good to see that, and I think we've got a growing audience now, which is really nice to see. Just before I introduce Greg, just to chat there to the audience as well. We've got a Q&A section, which is on I think it's on the bottom of your screens there. If you have any questions for us, then please fill in that Q&A question. And then we'll put those questions to Greg. So anything really that you feel like talking of, be good to see. Jofila, good morning. I see a nice little message from you to us. Nice to see you this morning. Anyway, Greg, I'm gonna go ahead. We've got a good few people online. Well, I'd like to introduce Greg Solomon. He's the CEO of McDonald's South Africa, no doubt a brand that you may have heard of at some point or other. He actually started with McDonald's in 1996 as a project manager. His background actually is civil engineering, if I'm right there, Greg. And he's been MD since January 2009. Essentially, he managed to get McDonald's South Africa by his leadership to win Deloitte's Best Company to Work for 3 consecutive years. And he personally was named Institute of People Management CEO of the Year in 2011. As well as being nominated as finalist of Boss of the Year award in 2011. I've never been nominated as Boss of the Year for anything. I have no idea why. But welcome, Greg. It's nice to have you with us, and we look forward to hearing more. If you maybe just like to introduce yourself further on from my brief introduction.
Well, great to be with you, and thank you, everybody. It's quite daunting to me to be just under the title of SA Chefs. So we're talking about some serious hospitality experts here today, but I look forward to your Q&A and your questions. I like to call myself the hamburger guy. Although I'm a civil engineer by profession, I haven't done that for a long time. And who would have thought maybe that's a lesson in life? Who would have thought that you started off studying engineering, building buildings and homes, and now it's all about hamburgers. And I've got a son that's at the university at the moment, and he's going through the commas. And I always say to him, this is a foundation of your life. You don't necessarily have to love it. It's something that you're building on. The university of life takes you to different places. What's taken me to McDonald's, I guess the common thread about McDonald's and engineering, whether it was a building site or building a road or building a bridge, the common denominator was people, I guess, and customers. And so I'm privileged now to have to lead this organization. We are 16,000 people now at McDonald's. We have 303 restaurants currently open in our business. We are about 50% franchised. A lot of people don't know we're about 50% company run. So we have the 2 different infrastructures. We operate under a master franchise agreement. So that means it's a master franchise unit. The whole country is franchised. And from that perspective, it gives us our nimbleness and our way to grow. If I may, Stephen, just a few more minutes on,
please.
on maybe the history of McDonald's. As an American hamburger business, a lot of big brands come to the country, be it from Europe, be it from the East, be it from the West. And I think there's a few things we can learn. We celebrate 25 years this year on the 11th of November. I'm hoping that we'll see the back of COVID by the 11th of November this year. But needless to say, I think that's a whole topic which we'll chat on. So we're 25 years this year, and it's taken us almost 15 years to reach our first 100 restaurants. and then 10 years to double that and double that again. So the way you grow a brand, the way you grow your structure, the way you grow your consumer base, the way you grow loyalty is not necessarily at a very, very fast pace. You've got to take time. I've spoken about this word of building your foundation, building your skills, building your talent. And we like to build our own talent within McDonald's. I'm here sitting in head office at the moment. Just one floor above me is our own hamburger university. So we like to build the future Greg Solomons of the world here, and that takes time. And now the vision, be it before COVID or during COVID or after COVID, is now to reach 400 restaurants and 20,000 odd employees, and hopefully we'll get there soon. And then my last point is a point around innovation and evolution. I think that's quite important as well under the topic of COVID. Under innovation, this brand has changed. I've been here for 24 out of the 25 years, obviously not in the leadership capacity, but this brand has changed so many times, and maybe that's why so many people stay at McDonald's for so long. We started off 25 years ago with drive-through. Whilst how drive-through has saved us in the month of May and certainly in the month of June. And then quickly it got into 24/7 delivery, 24-hour operations. It got into breakfast. Who would think that we serve breakfast? And then it got into deliveries, and then it got into our newest brand, which is McCafe, which is I would say a medium to high end barista-led bakery and coffee shop. And then last year we were voted the coolest coffee shop in Gauteng. So, your business needs to change and your business needs to morph. Who would have thought 25 years ago we were selling cheeseburgers, French fries, and a Coca-Cola, and now we're selling chai latte, low GI toasted gourmet chicken sandwich, and a blueberry muffin. So a very, very different type of spread, and certainly in the next decade, our business will morph again.
It's interesting how you say that, and the evolution has been remarkable, but nothing beats a Big Mac. And I know that you've been spending some time at home teaching people how to make them during lockdown. So that's been one of your initiatives, and I think people notice it. So how good are your Big Macs?
Well, at home, my Big Macs are not great. I give myself a 4 out of 10. But as soon as I got into the restaurants, as soon as we were able to open up for delivery in the month of May, I went into the McDonald's kitchen and cooked a Big Mac. And I'm not as good as the top Big Mac chefs in McDonald's, but I can certainly hold my own. And I guess that's what it is about, this hamburger business. No matter who you are, you need to be able to do the trade. I think that's quite important as well. But the Big Mac is the Big Mac. I suppose we can all cook a fried egg at home, and we can all maybe make a bread at home, but we can't make a world famous French fries. We can't make an English muffin. We can't make a McRoyale. We can't make a McFlurry and the world famous Big Mac. And we must never forget, where our traditions and where our history comes from. So we'll build this business around the fringes, but the core will always remain the same.
Interesting that you say what sort of business you're in. If you look at all those analysis, and many of them of McDonald's over the years, it starts off saying you're in the hamburger business, and then the real estate business was the point there. But I know you say you're actually not. You've realized you're actually in the people business, Greg. So how important are the people in the process, and what sort of development opportunities do McDonald's people actually get?
Well, I mean, take one of our executives in our executive team, Joanne DeVette, grew up in Cape Town 24 years ago, studied commerce, and she went to New Zealand at that time, trained to understand the McDonald's kitchen and the McDonald's world around food, and she's now a top 5 person in the McDonald's business. And so, we can talk about Colin Messina, an operations manager, started off on the 11th of November on the anniversary as a part-time crew, earning probably 7 Rand an hour. He's now an operations manager, and he's got 45 restaurants reporting, or 35 restaurants reporting into him. Well over 2,500 people. As I say, this is the university of life. We in the hospitality business. We can study certain things, but I guess I'm speaking to hospitality experts and chef experts. You can learn how to make some sort of bread pudding, but you really got to perfect it, and perfect it comes with practice. You can get the recipe, but you got to get the art. So McDonald's is part art, part science. Your point is spot on. Why have we got a reputation as a real estate company? I guess unlike many other franchisees and franchisors out there, McDonald's likes to take a real estate view. We like to buy our own land and build our own buildings. And you'll see us a lot in drive-thrus, freestanding drive-thrus, and less in malls. And that's because our drive-thru business is so big. It's touching on sort of 55, it's way over 50, let's say way over 50% of our total business. And when you have a drive-thru operations, it's no, well, we do want to be respectful and go to the malls, but that's where it really happens for us. So we want to take a long-term view. When McDonald's makes a business decision, we want to take a 10 or a 20-year view. And I guess I always say, have a long-term view. And this is even braver now under COVID. How strong are your long-term views? My people say this, Greg, we always got to take long-term views, but so things shouldn't be different. We should continue growing. We should continue, adding people. Well, COVID is different. Let's be honest. COVID is very, very, many ways.
You took a view. Sorry, Greg. I beg your pardon. Please carry on.
And I'll just close off and I'll say our lives will never ever be the same.
And just following on from that, I know you have plans back in 2018 to spend to invest about $3 billion to open 120 new restaurants in 5 years. Has the COVID changed that goal?
It definitely hasn't changed the goal. It may have changed the timeline to get there. We all talk about these fancy V curves and U curves and L curves. But when you plunge down to 0% sales for the month of April, and pretty much 20%, if we're lucky, percent of our sales in the month of May, it's a very, very steep hole to dig ourselves out of. So the responsibility to our people, to our customers, to our shareholders and the likes is probably to say to them, our ambition remains the same, but maybe it's going to take us 6 to 12 to 18 months longer to get there. We're here for the long run. We've been here for, as I said, 25 years. We want to be here for another 25 years. So that commitment, it's a big spend and a big investment in the country. We'll be there. It'll just take us maybe a little longer. How longer? I don't know. I'm hoping that we had predicted as a progressive, modern and contemporary business, or an aspiring modern and contemporary business. That's our mission and our vision. We had predicted certain trends to happen in the next decade. Our 10-year view said that our food needed to change. We needed to look at health in a different way. We needed to look at the global world and the impact of what our sourcing of beef and chicken and vegetables needs to do on the world. We had predicted certain trends to happen in the next 10 years. I think what COVID's done now is COVID's on certain aspects has said you need to get there in 2-3 years now, if not get there straight away, like we're having a conversation on Zoom. For those companies that have been progressive of morphing their business to something new, I think you'll get out of this COVID hole probably in the next 6 to 12 months. For those companies, professionals that haven't been thinking too much of the future, I think it's going to be a long road out.
Greg, you speak about the power of 10, which is a decade of innovation and change. And you touched on it now and said that there's some planned innovations over the next 10 years. Can you expand on that for us?
Maybe we start off with us as leaders. We're all leaders in our own way, whether you're leading an organization or whether you're leading a restaurant or a hotel or some form of board and lodging. We're all leaders. We lead ourselves first. And so this concept of the power of 10 is that when you grow your business from one person to 10 people, Are you as a leader the same? Because if you are the same, I'm sure you'll become quickly obsolete. You grow your business from your first 1,000 Rand profit to your first 10,000 Rand profit. You need to change as a leader. 100 customers to 1,000 customers, you need to change as a leader. So we start with leadership, and it's a very, very important piece for me, because I don't believe we have a leader problem in this country. I believe we have a leadership problem in this country, and we can talk about that perhaps a little bit later. But effectively what I'm saying to you and your audience is that we need to understand that, and a power of 10 can go backwards. If you've gone from 1,000 employees down to 100 employees, something fundamental needs to change in your business, in your thinking, in your strategy. And that's how we've kept the McDonald's brand growing. We've continued to innovate. We have a term stolen from our founder, Ray Kroc, says, when you green, you're growing. I guess speaking to professional culinary people over here, we know that fruit is not ripe until it's red. So we want to keep everybody green and growing. And so that's the thinking. You plant a mealie seed now and you harvest it in 6 months' time. You need to think about what are the mealie seeds that you're planting now to harvest in 2021.
In terms of trends, and if this is fair to say, is that I think over this period, which has been tough for everybody, and we've been spending a lot of time at home, that there appears to have been if you like, a spin back to more traditional times. And we all talk about, the banana breads and the sourdough breads, and you're not seeing so much online. I think people have actually started to get a bit bored with it. But do you think that people during a period of crisis then start to look towards comfort food and favorites and well-known favorites? And I guess I can bring the good old Big Mac or the Quarter Pounder into that one.
Well, I think if we zoom out of our industry into food, and let's just, my crystal ball is no more special than any of the crystal balls out there. But I do think we'll start off with the macro world and this massive, I don't want to call it a war, maybe a struggle between the East and the West. And we'll look at the US and we'll look at China. And I think the reason why those are important, and then Brexit will be somewhere in between. And why that's important for us here in South Africa is we're quite far away. And we remain a net importer of a lot of goods, a lot of specialized goods, a lot of specialized food products. But it's even concerning that, when you slip into a moderate net importer of a staple like a maize or like a chicken. Beef, I think we're okay. So we've got that to watch, and what that's going to do for us is we're going to say, well, how much are we going to purchase out of China, and how much are we going to purchase out of the US? So there's some trends, some interesting trends that are going to happen there, in my belief. The second one, which is tied to the first one, is this whole culture of wanting to local is lekker, and wanting to source local products. And I think there's a big opportunity there. We might be cooking the food, but we need to be looking at sourcing the food. We're nutritionists. We know what that food is. We know what it's like. And there's a massive opportunity, in my opinion, to source local products, be it packaging, be it hardware, be it food. I think we owe it to ourselves, and I think the responsibility of this country is great. So I think there's going to be a big trend going local is lekker. But I do believe that the fabric of our country, the culture of our country, is in hospitality. We've got some of the most beautiful coastal lines. We love our outdoor activities. We love our braai. We love our food. We love our red wine. That's going to come back. It's going to come back quickly. I mean, we just heard from the president last night that he's allowing us to open up our restaurants. It's delightful news. Question is, are customers going to come and sit in our restaurants, or are they going to wait and see? I think we're still going to go through a lot of uncertainty in the month of July and August. But from about spring, I think, and certainly by 2021, people want to be people again. And we'll be going to restaurants and socializing with our friends and family.
In terms of the speech last night, double-edged sword perhaps, what are your thoughts on Cyril Ramaphosa's speech?
Look, I mean, no one wants the president's job. I mean, it's a really, really tough job, and I guess holistically, I applaud him for his leadership and for his strength. It's a juggle by, you know, the fatalities of COVID-19, or the fatalities, and I use such a hard word, of economic depression, starvation, and especially during this winter time. So it's a very, very tough balance that we have to have. And I feel like we've lived it as a McDonald's brand over the last 30 days. For those restaurants that are getting ready to open, I call it 2 phases. The first phase was complete lockdown, no income, no revenue, no customers, tremendous cash flow issues, really, really very, very stressful times. And I've moved from that chapter now to our drive-thrus opening. Thank goodness they're so strong. So we're already at around 80% of the norm. We're already back up to that level just with drive-through and takeaway. So once we open up seating for McDonald's, as I say, we're quite privileged in this case. It should take us between 80 or 90% of the normal volume, which means that we should be just humming along fine. But now it's now the spread of the infection, you know, and with that spread of the infection comes down opening and closing restaurants regularly, and that's affected McDonald's already. We've got very, very strong protocols to be able to do those turnarounds. You know, we've got a lot of people that we can quarantine people and bring other people in. So we have that luxury to be able to be nimble because of our size, but it's really, really, really difficult to manage a business during these times. People getting sick, are they sick, are they not sick, closing down the restaurants, the extra OPEX and the extra operation supplies just to clean your restaurants, the extra gloves, the extra masks. These are adding huge amount of costs into the business. So opening, I look at it for certain businesses might be worse than being closed. I hope not.
I think that's a debate with small businesses, certainly small restaurants, even some of the bigger ones, as to whether it's worth opening until we're at level 1 and we've got a full opening with it'll seat as normal. You know, those days when we were thinking about this was never going to happen in February, when we were all rushing out to pubs and restaurants and hotels without a thought for this type of thing. You know, then I guess we're also still in fair economic problems. This just seemed to accelerate it that much quicker from being a difficult economy to being an impossible economy for small businesses.
Well, we talk about liquidity and a trend. Another trend in your previous question for me is going to be the strength of your balance sheet and your income statement. This is a very big point that I continuously push into non-financial people. Do we understand the financial strength of our business, the balance sheet, the income statement? And I think that is going to be a complete change in, you know, our humility. We've been humble. We've taken a lot from this world, and now this world is taking from us. And I think we should be humbled. We should become a little more modest in our way of thinking. Well, certainly I can speak on behalf of myself and my family and my wife and my kids. We've had a lot of these conversations around the type of life we live, building a little bit of a stronger nest egg, building a stronger liquidity base, building a stronger balance sheet. These are all important trends. Now, the problem here now is that a lot of our small businesses now have accumulated debt. The banks have been kind, and I say that respectfully, to give us more debt, payment holidays. Landlords have given us payment holidays, but you know, we have to pay these things now. And if you're coming out of the blocks with 30, 40, 50, 60% of your revenue, your higher ops costs, which are now got to do with new uniforms and hygiene principles, you don't have the profitability to pay off your normal debt, never mind the burden of the debt of the past. So I really say to your listeners and the young entrepreneurs out there, this is just the beginning. This coming out, what the president announced yesterday, is just the beginning. Pace yourself, be responsible, have patience, balance your patience and your persistence, and take time to come out of this. This is going to take a good 12 months to get to any form. We won't get back to normality, but any form of stability, let me say.
What type of product changes do you think would change specifically because of COVID? There's certain products that you'd introduce or reintroduce following this experience?
No, I don't think COVID is going to introduce, and we in the takeaway business. We're trying our best to redefine ourselves instead of being a fast food company to being a good food served fast company. But that's now changing, isn't it? I mean, our competition is so different now. It's not just about McDonald's and its quick service restaurant competitors. You can go into a Woolworths or a Pick and Pay or a Spar and get a hot meal now. So I do believe, though, that there is a trend. It has been there for the last 5 to 10 years. This may accelerate, but hot meals, not necessarily from a McDonald's, but hot meals, ready-made meals, is a trend. I also think that non-hot meals, ready to prepare, the chef in the home. That's what COVID's taught us to do. We can all be chefs. No disrespect. I'm talking about a fried egg and a piece of toast, chef. But if with a little bit of help and a little bit of innovation, if you can just send me the right portion sizes and a little bit of a recipe, we can all be chefs. And I think that's going to be a decent trend, in my opinion.
Is your thinking then for chefs that there's a new opportunity based on that, on different options and different opportunities for chefs?
Yeah, sometimes if we cook food, we think we cook food. We must go back to our hotel. We must go back to our restaurants and cook food. But, food is part, if we can strip it back down many layers to our culture, I do think innovation lies in taking the hotel and the restaurant to the home. I do believe we're social creatures. We will entertain a lot at home as well. But I do think there's an opportunity. How big that size of that opportunity is, I don't know. From a McDonald's perspective, we want the customers to come to us as much as possible. And again, our drive-thrus are so safe, and customers are rewarding us on that. And now we have the chance, just like the rest of the restaurants out there, to prove the president right and to prove the customers that we can deliver safe food in a hygiene way. And we mustn't forget that we are an industry. I've canvassed a lot to the ministers out there that we are an industry that is used to health and hygiene standards. We deal with E. coli, we deal with salmonella, we deal with chicken, we deal with beef. We deal with these particular issues, not deal with them, but eradicate them in our cooking processes. And so we're used to doing that. If you want to trust an industry to take care of the highest level of, other than the health industry, come to the restaurant industry, and we can prove. But we are as weak as our weakest link, and this has been, their pushback to me when I've tried to canvass our industry. Greg, how can you get these 6,000 restaurants all to operate, from this level of hygiene? So we're as weak as our weakest link.
I see that Sue Renard is saying the reopening of McDonald's drive-thrus was a godsend. Warm and friendly staff, as quick and efficient as ever, and hygiene protocols every step of the way, not to mention the reward of a perfectly prepared meal on the go. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sue. Look, at the end of the day, we know that our service is not as quick because we have to follow social distancing in the kitchens as well. So those lines are long, there's no doubt. We're trying to get our service a little bit better. And again, lobbies and takeaways have opened, so that will relieve it. But I do, even if I have to, agree with myself one more time, it's been a beat that I've been pushing a long time. The drive-thru is quite a secure, what we call contactless service. Now with restaurants with waiters serving back and forth, we really got to get our minds around this particular point.
This leads on to a question that we've got here by Lazarus. New processes which the organization has introduced, I think certainly in and around the service areas. On the drive-thrus, have you changed much in practices from pre-COVID to now?
So the drive-thrus, we've gone to away from face-to-face interaction to a speaker box, but that's been there for quite a while. We've done a lot of innovation around our IT equipment. You must remember that we don't have your Big Mac ready for you before you get to drive-thru. A lot of people don't know, and if they're interested, certainly for your audience, I'm happy to do behind the scenes with a small cluster of your chefs and or your listeners, so we can have a look at a McDonald's kitchen. Yes, the stainless steel's there, probably like any other kitchen. Yes, your grills are there, probably like any grills, and your ovens are there, probably like any ovens. But these are probably the most expensive, sophisticated grills, the most expensive, sophisticated ovens, because for us, every second counts. So our innovation continues to be on how we cook beef. We cook beef on a double clam grill, which cooks the beef from both sides. So that piece of equipment will continue to innovate, but the cooking process won't change. Our ovens have changed. We've gone very sophisticated around that. Computerization of everything in our kitchens is very, very important, and that goes all the way through the supply chain. So we've innovated a lot on the ordering, garbage in, garbage out. So one Big Mac goes out, the system knows it needs to order, the 14 ingredients or the 15 ingredients for a Big Mac, and so that's quite important. The digital delivery, we're not quite there yet on what that looks like. And our logistics center, we have one logistics center, logistics, that delivers all our products. We have a fresh, frozen, and a room temperature delivery that comes in a 3-compartment truck. So we spent a lot of time innovating on that as well. Each restaurant gets about 2 deliveries per week because we've got that fresh. So we've innovated there a lot. On the service side, I know you probably asked me more around drive-through. On the service side, we've introduced self-ordering kiosks in our restaurants. They're basically big iPads where you walk into your restaurants and you customize your order. There's a big trend. Let's see if the restaurant industry takes that trend into, instead of menus, into iPads. We've got to be careful that that depends on what type of restaurant you are. You move away from the authenticity of your brand, that human touch, that human flavor. Now, obviously, we got ready, Stephen, talking about, are we a hamburger business? Are we a real estate business? Are we a people business? And I define us as a people business because the reason why I say that is I think that is our single biggest competitive advantage. Our single biggest competitive advantage in McDonald's is not serving a Big Mac. It's serving a Big Mac that's exactly the same in Sandton, to Soweto, to Tawandu, to Musina, to Western Cape, and to Bloemfontein. That's the secret. And a machine doesn't get you there. A person gets you there. So when we digitalize and when we add different devices into our business, it's allowed us to become, to develop the hospitality part of our business. So now you'll see in progressive McDonald's businesses like Woodmead McDonald's or Rivonia McDonald's or Tiger Manor McDonald's or Bloemfontein McDonald's, much more service, much more hospitality staff dealing with our customers. We've been able to free that by digitalizing other parts of our business.
But surely, Greg, I mean, here's the ideal opportunity with people spreading COVID to other people, is to completely change the process and separate it and replace people with machines. So if you've got a process there which is consistent over them, then surely then you can replace the chefs with a completely mechanical process.
Look, COVID's going to come and go. COVID's going to come and go. I remember in March around about the 30th, I had a total panic. And I decided, no, look, we've got to go and stock up on our masks. So I went to medical masks like this one over here. And I said to my team, go ahead and go and buy thousands and millions of these medical masks. And the price of these medical masks were 14 Rand. Now the price of these medical masks are 4 Rand. Yeah. So I'm still really, really upset that I paid 14 Rand for my first batch of medical masks. And so COVID will come and go. And I think that won't be the threat of human capital, COVID. We'll see the end of COVID in the next 6 to 12 months, and then we'll see another COVID come. I think just the robot versus the human being, the OPEX versus the CAPEX, the cost of doing business, the accuracy of the robotics type element, that's the bigger long-term threat, and that may come. But there will always be human beings to do things, and that's where the evolution and the power of 10 needs to come into it. You know, you may have a chef who doesn't have to, who actually, forgive me, I'm not a chef, I'm an engineer, doesn't have to really knead the dough anymore. We can get a machine to do that. but the chef still needs to present it in a slightly different way. The chef needs to probably be a little bit more in front of counter instead of behind counter. Maybe the customer wants to see the chef, doesn't want to see the server. Of the person that put the final bit of salt in, the final bit of sugar in, who cut the loaf of bread, who put the bit. And I think that's going. If you can find that, I don't think we will eradicate human beings. I think human beings will be changing what we do. The definition of what a chef does versus what his machines do will change over time. And I think those people that accept that will become modern and progressive. I don't believe schools, universities have thought about the skills that we need in our businesses right now. And that's why we have a hamburger university above us. We don't necessarily teach people basic maths and science that they learn at school. We teach them about how to use Zoom and how to work on a computer and how to strategically think on a spreadsheet and why is PowerPoint important and what is coding and how to deal with a customer on WhatsApp that wants to talk to you on WhatsApp. Those are skill sets that a university can't teach you, and that's why I believe big business has to step up and teach their people how to be leaders.
What new skills do you foresee staff needing to learn over the next 18 months? If I could then expand that and say not necessarily staff, but management, leaders, what new skills do you foresee them needing?
Well, I certainly think I'll contradict myself now. Certainly, it's just a basic understanding of financial concepts. I think we've got a big opportunity there. We don't teach leadership at school, which is a huge opportunity for us. And I think that whole interacting through leadership skills will always be there. Conflict skills will always be there. From that perspective. And I think dealing with a more younger, remote employee type base through management and leadership skills, I think that's going to be quite important. Gone are the days of sitting down, doing formal business reviews on your people twice a year using Word and written documents. These days, people want feedback once a month. They want quick feedback, like maybe over a Zoom call, or maybe quick feedback. How am I doing? Yes, I'm doing well. Yes, I'm doing. It's not so much about how much time you sit in the office. It's now what type of KPIs you can deliver to our business. I think our skill sets will be much more focused around the customer, logical skill sets too.
Leadership versus leaders. You say lots of leaders. What is the state of leadership in South Africa?
Well, I have to put myself in the same bucket. I have to judge myself, unfortunately, but I'm disappointed in leadership in this country. We have leaders that can't communicate properly, that can't put their visions out to their people. We have, leaders need to be able to communicate in a way that affects the youth of their business and the more mature of their business. They need to be brave. I don't think leaders are brave. I think leaders have sat on cash for many, many years in this country, waiting and seeing. I think leaders have asked the politicians to change this country and this world instead of changing it themselves. They haven't taken a leadership role in impacting their people's lives. For me, my job is to change my people's lives. My job is to find the next Greg Solomon. My job is to impact and allow people to reach their full potential. I think leaders are too swayed between EBITDA and revenue growth. That's not what leaders do. That's what managers do. What leaders do is unlock potential in human beings. And unfortunately, if the state of our country and the state of our economy is the scorecard, then we failed as leaders, and we got to stop blaming our politicians. I've got 16,000 people in this McDonald's world, or this McDonald's South Africa business. I need to make sure that I make a difference to those 16,000 people. If every other leader, be it 600 people, 6 people or 1 person can have the same sort of thinking, can you imagine what effect we can have on our people? I believe one of the most important adjectives of a leader, in my opinion, is an influential leader. And an influential leader needs to be able to influence people, obviously, by the definition of influence. You build influence by building on trust and respect. Trust, you deliver on your promise, and respect, I guess you teach somebody something new today. If we can all do that, then we can impact people's lives. Trust and respect.
In terms of the traditional way of doing business, which is to be able to give first and foremost the benefit to the shareholders, when the shareholders are battering on your door and saying, well, this isn't, the last 3 months have been an absolute disaster, I'm expecting better performance, when you've got to close down business, is there going to be a change in terms of who one believes are stakeholders? Does it remain at those people that invest, or does it then include every single staff member?
We have a concept in McDonald's called the 3-legged stool. With 3 legs, the chair can stand. With one of those legs down, the chair falls down. I guess the customer sits on the chair. So our suppliers and our shareholders and us as the business and the franchisees. This is not about making anyone happy. This is about making everybody equally happy. And I guess the CEO's job is very much that. It's keeping their shareholders happy, keeping their employees and franchisees happy, keeping their suppliers happy, so the customer doesn't fall off the chair. That's the single most important thing. Now, making everybody equally happy is quite a difficult job. Making everybody happy is easy. Somebody's going to be unhappy. But equally happy comes with consultation, comes with consensus, comes with compromise. And that's what you've got to navigate through. But we're lucky enough that our shareholders have long-term vision. They understand the business. They fully invested. Best endeavors in an organization. We have world-class franchisees. We have 1,000 next Gregs waiting to take over my job. So from that perspective, we've invested in those millies. The hard one now is going to be how we're going to harvest and who we're going to harvest. So we find ourselves in a good place. But over the next, because of COVID now, just bringing it back to reality, we'll pace ourselves very carefully over the next 6 months.
I've got a question, a more technical question from David Wolfson. Said, very informative. My question is, the motorbike home deliveries via yourselves and others, are you not concerned about the sanitizing of bike boxes and food carrier bags, as well as holding at the correct temperature, because their handling is quite off-putting? Now with that, I think, one can control an environment in a restaurant as an owner, or in a McDonald's as an owner of a franchisee, but as soon as it gets out the door, as soon as it gets on a bike, you're not controlling it anymore. What measures do you have in place to ensure that those people that deliver are following the protocols that you set?
Look, absolutely. I mean, like any process, you open up a new kitchen, you open up a coffee shop, you got to come in. McDonald's is just great when it comes sometimes over the top when it comes to procedures and processes. So with our deliveries, we currently work with 3 delivery suppliers. Actually, this weekend we launched our 4th delivery supply in Western Cape. So those are Mr. Delivery, Uber, our own Mac Delivery, and a new delivery company which you probably haven't heard of because they're only 3 days old, called Scoot, that launched a few days ago. And all of those service providers have to work through our protocols. Firstly, our bags are sealed. So once they're in the kitchen, so from a hygiene and safety standpoint, I have full confidence that the customer is going to get a safe food. My bigger concern is you can't really get that full experience that you do in a restaurant. It's like taking a wonderful medium rare fillet and trying to put that in a box and deliver that home. I mean, you got to eat that filet literally 5 minutes as it comes off the grill. And so those are the things we try to perfect. I think our customers do realize, though, that when they're getting delivery, their food is probably not as hot and as fresh. But from a hygiene and safety standpoint, I have full confidence. We continue to work on the type of modes of transport, the type of boxes, the carrier bags, the highest level of technology to get the food as real as well, it'll be more hot and fresh more than anything else. With McDonald's as well, we also hold our service providers to a trading area size. So we don't let you deliver to 10 kilometers away. We want to deliver between 2 and 3 kilometers away. That means that we can try get to our service promise. We're not going to get there in COVID. COVID's really, really difficult. But our service promise for delivery should be around 30, 40 minutes from the time you place an order. And if we can get to that particular service promise, then to the question that was asked, absolute full confidence in hygiene, but then hot and fresh will be done as well. The last point is washing of hands, wearing of gloves. The bike ride has been taught those procedures as well. Those are all intact as well.
A question from Mbali, and I'm going to just embellish it slightly. How do you choose the correct foods for your clientele? I guess this comes down to what sort of research do McDonald's do, and how do they do it to be able to introduce a new item to a menu, whether it be a chai tea, whether it be a healthy option, a salad, that type.
Yeah, this is the constant fight I have with my chief of marketing. How much research do you do things? And I say to him that, we've got to be 80% full of research, but I want to leave 20% out there to be maverick. Sometimes we can research the hell out of a particular item. Or sometimes there's this chef who's got this unbelievable idea, and I just want to just try it. So just put it in 5 restaurants and give it a bash. And if it works, you don't need research, and research is expensive. But we do a lot of research. I mean, we've got 8 million customers that come to us every single month, and we tap into those customers and tell us, what they want to do. But let me give you an example why I say you have to be a bit maverick. So if I had to ask your listenership today, let's do a breakfast for McDonald's. What would that breakfast look like? I'm sure most of us would probably say, let's do two fried eggs like everybody else. Maybe we can put some spinach because that's quite trendy right now on a nice piece of whole wheat or low gluten-free bread. And well, that's not really going to work through the drive-through, is it? So no customer came to us and said to us, should we do an egg McMuffin that sits in a hand with a poached egg? Our eggs are poached, and that's really what's on an egg McMuffin. But we came up with that because of the functionality of eating in your car and coming through a drive-through. And breakfast is now 12.5%, 13% of our total business. Who would have thought you would eat breakfast on a sandwich? Do you know what I'm saying? So innovation is important. I like to throw out about 20% of trying stuff, being maverick. We're lucky we got 300 restaurants. I can pick 5 restaurants and just try something in it. If it fails, I'll close it down. That's my best way. But my marketing team, they'll do deep research and ask customers to say, because customers must tell us. If customers have to evolve us to who the new McDonald's needs to be. And if they want to evolve and take our business to the next level, then that's where they want to go. I mean, the beverage strategy is huge. I think that's a very, very big trend. A lot of people are doing a lot of drinking, a lot of teas, a lot of coffees. A lot of protein shakes are the trends of the future. If customers want us to go that route on protein shakes, then we'll go that route. As I said to you at the beginning of this talk, the fringes of our business and our brand will continue to evolve if we're true to our beliefs of being a modern and contemporary burger business. But the core of our business will never change. The Big Mac, the French fries, the strawberry shake, the nuggets, the McFlurry, the Oreo McFlurry in particular. Those are huge items for us.
I quote from your CEO on the pandemic, the American CEO, said as we start to get into the recovery phase, getting back that restaurant business is going to be critical to us. One of the things I think in the States is that people are out of their routines. So people going into work would typically drive through a McDonald's, get their breakfast, grab and go, eat in the car on the way. And interestingly, you says that the breakfast business is a big part of the overall mix. You say it was about 11% in South Africa. Have we developed the trend of people eating in their car on the way to work?
Well, I represent McDonald's South Africa, so I can those numbers that I give you are South African numbers, and I would
don't know what
probably
his numbers are. Yeah.
I'd say to you certainly here in South Africa, absolutely. I mean, serving 8 million customers a month, and over 50% of those customers are coming to us in drive-through. I think the South African consumer has accepted that drive-through is a fundamental, not the only, but it's a fundamental part of their day part. You know, not every single lunch are you going to eat in your car, but once a month or twice a month, you're going to have that in your car. And once again, it's another way of being a delivery guy yourself. You don't have to have a delivery guy. It's an important part of our business, deliveries. But I can just get in my car and be my own delivery guy, come through drive-through and bring it home so the family can enjoy it. But coming back to sit-down restaurants is a very, very important part of our restaurants. We're a family business, and we like to create small moments of loving, special moments. And special moments are little interactions of care between people. And as I said, I think that's a fabric of our restaurant industry, and that's certainly a fabric and a culture of this country. Restaurants will come back, 100% sure. I'm sure restaurants will come back. Special moments with my mates, with my friends, you know, with my family. I haven't seen them for a long time. Restaurants, you know, create a meeting place for that to happen. However, customers are cautious and customers need confidence. And what builds confidence is trusted brands. And through our drive-thrus, we have to be trusted. And through our delivery, we have to be trusted. And as we open up our lobbies, hopefully we can prove to those few brave customers that visit us that we can be trusted too. And so we'll talk to each other, and customers will tell customers. And when that happens, then we'll get back to full capacity in the restaurant industry.
Question from Sue. There's a lot of talk on social media about the revival of roadhouses. And I see that I think there's one of the pubs got it closed down, and they started with the roadhouse, the good old traditional 1960s, 1970s. Roadhouses, sort of a branded offering Wimpy were looking at, and then it didn't take off. Is it something that McDonald's would be keen to explore now? Or is that what you do in reality?
Well, I think we took the Roadhouse and we made it into a drive-through, I suppose. And maybe it goes the other way. I think the Roadhouse is a cool concept. The question is, you know, is it scalable or not? We can push 100 cars through a drive-through per hour. So, you know, I think we figured out, and that's on an average Friday or a Saturday. The record in South Africa is a record in Bloemfontein with our franchisee Arno Bacchus. I think he's clocked over 700 cars in 1 hour. So, you know, I just when Roadhouse gets to that, it's really a cool concept, and I'm sure that would be an interesting, but I just don't know how scalable a Roadhouse is. That's why drive-thrus around the world and in South Africa are so popular. I think they're just financially viable, they're scalable, they're safe, and they're just a modern Roadhouse. But Roadhouses are cool.
Yeah, I believe there's still a couple of them around Pretoria, East Rand, and the rest of them still exist. And they go on. And I rue the day that they started closing down drive-in movies. And I think those certainly would have been a very sustainable thing during this. It's a pity that nobody was able to reopen one. I guess there's not any free land available.
Well, I think the landscape was probably the piece of property is quite a sizable piece of property, because you need a big parking lot. Mm-hmm. But once again, let's think now as business owners and opportunists. There might be parking lots right now that have they can't do anything, you know. And so maybe to those chefs that are listening to me today, that are sitting in their formal restaurants and can't get people, why don't you turn your parking lots into temporary roadhouses and think like that entrepreneur and try it out. Like I tried a product in 5 or 6 restaurants. Try out the medium rare fillet steak served in your car in a roadhouse, and let's see if there's a trend that builds. Customers will lead us, there's no doubt. Trends will come and trends will pass, but customers will lead us, and out of those 10 things that we throw out there, one will stick. and with that sticky thing, and you build your brand on that.
There's some extremely innovative ideas from around the world, and I actually saw this one in London, but I believe they're now doing it in Amsterdam, which is these pods, if you like, or greenhouses. They got on the banks of a river. So if it's on the side of the Thames, they were there really very much for private parties, but now it's become a thing where you can take a family, can go to a restaurant, and have your own private pod to go and eat in. So I looked at those and I thought, well, that was a clever idea. I think the London one was very much because it's bloody cold outside. So I think they built the greenhouses for that reason. But the one in Amsterdam is quite fascinating. So you've got these couples enclosures, if you like, in a greenhouse thing, so they can actually eat them. You've got to wonder how much it costs to be able to set up, but they're using the side of a river exceptionally well. I really like that.
No, I agree, but I do think it'll. We've got to look at the things that'll be temporary and the things that will be
sustainable. Yeah. One question again: have you considered bone-in chicken like the wing offering in France? Considering our market loves bone-in meat in South Africa.
Mm. Well, a lot of customers don't know that 30% of our business is chicken. There's different ways that we consume chicken. And so you look for these competitive advantages. If our customers want us to have bone-in chicken, we'll bring them bone-in chicken. Right now, we're a great burger business, and we've got a variety of different chicken products on the bone. Before COVID, we were going to launch our newest chicken products, which is a full breast of chicken fillet in a burger format and in another format as well. And that allows us to do a variety of different wrap formats, breakfast formats, and a variety of different formats. So yes, we know that chicken on the bone is a staple, very, very competitive, respecting industry out there with many chicken players. But absolutely no doubt, if the customers think it's good for us, we'll go there. We have played around with chicken on the bone in a few of our restaurants in downtown Johannesburg. We'll continue to play there, but our customers continue to put us back to what they want from us, and that's great tasting chicken products. They've told us, let's go with the full fillet chicken products, and we've gone that way. And so we'll continue to listen to them.
Very good question, Travis Bernard, and I think probably our last question, unless anybody else would like to put something in. Advice on startup in the industry, again, expanding on that question. Would you advise anybody to start up this industry at this time? And what advice would you give if the person decided that that was the avenue they'd like to take?
So I gather by Travis's question that he's defining our industry as a food industry instead of a food industry. I definitely think the food industry is here to stay for a very long time. People are going to continue to eat. Maybe the car industry or the motorbike industry or the computer industry, the laptop industry, those will come and go, but people will always eat food. We now need to, as food crazy people, we now need to listen to how the customers want to eat, and we now need to design and be maverick on how we want them to eat. The one thing that I would say specifically to the point of being startup, as I said to you in the beginning of this interview, startup means exactly what it says. It doesn't mean ramp up or get there very fast. It's the balance between your patience and your persistence. I've been helping a young friend of mine, Flompo, in downtown Braamfontein. He has a little restaurant called Wings Republic, and we had a lot of chats. And I said to him, mate, just make sure that your little business hangs out there. Don't do anything for 18 months. No matter how successful you are in your business, perfect your people practices, perfect your operating manuals, perfect your recipes, perfect your balance sheet and your income statements. Don't do anything. After 6 months, he was ready to grow, and I tried my best, and thank goodness he listened. And now he's opened up his second and soon to be his third. So my advice to our industry, food, hospitality, it's going to be here for a long time. It's going to be here in different ways. Be innovative, be creative. Just remember, innovation is not about doing something new, always. Innovation is often about doing the same thing differently.
Thank you. I'd like to thank everybody for attending. We've had a nice group. Include in there old industry stalwarts like Heinz Brunner. I'm sure you'll send me a message on having said that. Heinz Jaco Estes and one of my business colleagues, Karen Bahrain from Sogo Sun, Bali, Michelle, Seymour Talbot, Sue Reynard, thank you very much. Thomas Overbeck from SA Chefs Association, Yasna also from SA Chefs. But thank you for everybody for participating in this. The recording will go up online, so we can invite people to be able to have a look at it after the event. And above all, I'd like to thank Greg for his time. Greg, it's been wonderful talking to you. It's been eye-opening and entertaining, as well as I think it puts opens our eyes and puts our minds at rest that our industry is on the up and up again.
Thank you very much, and good luck to everybody. Stay safe. Keep our restaurants clean and safe, and don't be the weakest link.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks a lot. We'll see you again. All the best to you.
Bye-bye.